Lately, I've been getting messages, mostly on Instagram, from people asking me to check out a tool brand which I'd only recently heard about, Total Tools. And here it is, a full-on, complete toolbox. Now, this kind of set isn't widely available yet, however, you can find it on, well, Egyptian Amazon, but it's still got a 1-star review there, apparently because it arrived without a battery. Still, the price is right in line with what was paid for this set, so let's dive in. This is my first time seeing Total Tools, and I have to say, this is a surprisingly big box for such a small price, and I have no idea what to expect. One thing that you'll notice right away is that unlike most other tool sets, at this price point, this one is so massive that you actually have to undo 4 latches just to open it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because where else are you going to see something like this? This is what I call a complete toolkit for a DIY mechanic. Not only does it come loaded with sockets and bits, but it also includes a 20-volt 4-amp battery and an impact wrench that claims to deliver up to 500 newton meters. And don't worry, we'll check all of that out in this video. But to really see how the Total Tools stack up, they need some competition, and that comes in the form of my very own Parkside tools. Now, Parkside doesn't offer a set exactly like this one, so I'm comparing it to the Parkside 216-piece set, the 20-volt Parkside impact wrench with an 8-amp battery as recommended, and the Parkside wheel socket set. I picked all of this up on sale throughout the year for around 200 euros. And if they weren't on sale, I guess the price would be around 300 euros. First up, let me show you some interesting bits that come in this Total Tools kit. First off, you get 4 proper impact sockets. They aren't extended, so in some cases they might not be ideal for lug bolts. They're really good quality, and they have plenty of other uses. The sockets are 17, 19, 21 and 22 millimeters, and I think it's great that they're part of this set because impact rated sockets are essential for an impact wrench to really deliver good power. And as I mentioned earlier, these are not just painted black, these are proper thick-walled chrome moly impact sockets. Now check out these two 32mm sockets, Total on the left and Parkside on the right. The Parkside has a matte finish, which looks nicer if that matters to you. The Total on the other hand has just a standard finish, nothing fancy. But here's the thing, after some use, the matte finish on the Parkside starts to wear off, while these particular Total sockets have held up perfectly. Now here's something I wasn't expecting. The Total set comes with a 3-jaw adjustable oil filter tool. It might not fit every oil filter out there, but if it works for your car, that's just a good extra that comes in the set. As for the power tools, this kit comes with a 4-amp hour 20-volt battery and a 2-amp charger. Nothing high-tech, but it gets the job done. The impact wrench looks solid, feels solid, and if it even comes close to that 500 newton meter claim, it will be genuinely impressive considering the price point. I am pleasantly surprised by what Total Tools have done here. Sure, they made a brushless impact wrench that looks and feels solid, but more importantly, they've avoided the trap of trying to make a cheap tool feel expensive. What I mean by that is, they didn't waste time and effort adding unnecessary features or fancy modes. You just get 3 power modes in forward and 2 in reverse. Simple, effective, and exactly what I like to see from budget tools, which is the basics done right. On the other hand, we've got the Parkside Performance 20-volt impact wrench, which does win in terms of size because it's about a centimeter shorter, but this is a tool that in some ways tries to do too much. All the different modes are nice, sure, but they can get a bit overwhelming, especially when you're switching between multiple tools. And don't even get me started on that Bluetooth feature. The Total set also includes a hex key set, but just like the Parkside one, it's missing the number 7 key. So you might run into the same kind of problem this person is having right here.
6, 8, 9, 10. Tak si kúpte imbusáky.
Since the Parkside set is a dedicated hand toolkit, naturally you get a wider selection of bits, sockets and wrenches. Now speaking of wrenches, there's a bit of a difference here too. The Parkside wrenches just look a bit better. Even though they have that same matte finish I mentioned earlier, I haven't had any issues with it coming off the wrenches, only the sockets. Overall, the Parkside wrenches just have a nicer finish and a more refined feel to them. Also, I upgraded my Parkside set a bit because I bought a set of ratcheting wrenches and wherever possible, replaced the standard ones in the kit. And I think that small upgrade made the set even better. Not sure that's something you could easily do with a Total set though. Both sets feel like they use similar plastics, and the tools in both sets have rubberized handles, so whichever one you go for, you won't be missing out on comfort or grip. But I'm curious as to which color scheme you prefer, so be sure to let me know down in the comments. Both sets come with a 1/4 inch, 3/8 and 1/2 inch ratchets. However, there's something I couldn't really show properly on camera, which is that the total ratchets seem to have more teeth, which makes them feel smoother and more refined. They also seem to have just a bit less back drag, which gives them a nicer, easier feel overall. So in this case, I've got to say that I actually prefer the total ratchets over the Parkside ones. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to test out the impact wrenches. And just keep in mind that the Total will be running on the 4 amp battery that comes in the set, while the Parkside will be using the recommended 8 amp hour Parkside Performance battery. Since you always call me out in the comments about how much force I use on my lug bolts, let's start this test off nice and easy, at 120 Newton meters. First up, we've got the Total Tools impact wrench, running on a fully charged 4 amp hour battery and set to reverse mode with auto stop. It's a really nice feature to have, but honestly, until recently, I'd never seen it work properly on a budget tool. So, now, let's see how this thing does. That was absolutely perfect. Now, with the bolts torqued back to 120 Newton meters, it's the Parkside's turn. It's running a fully charged Parkside Performance 8 amp hour battery and one of its many reverse modes. And no, I promise I'm not being thick here. It just has so many modes that I actually have to read the manual every time I use it. But in this case, one of those modes seemed to deliver the most power, so I just went with that one. The Parkside doesn't have a reverse auto stop mode, but it does have a reverse auto slow mode, which is also really nice to have. And with a bigger battery, the Parkside wins that round. Next up, I also tested them at 150 Newton meters, and as you'd expect, no surprises here, as they all managed to break the lug bolts free. Well, almost no surprises. The Parkside for some reason stopped twice in the middle of impacting, and as you can see, my finger is still on the trigger, but it just decides to stop. Thankfully, it works fine after that, but those little pauses cost it some time. And after that, I decided not to torture this thing too much, so I jumped straight to the big one, the 300 Newton meter test. This will be performed on M18 lug nuts, so the results should be as consistent as possible. I also chose 300 Newton meters because I feel that's where I can get the most reliable and outright consistent results. It's not exactly the 500 Newton meters that this thing claims it can handle, but it should give us a good idea of whether the claim printed on the side of it is at least feasible. Not bad. Not bad at all, Total Tools. And now with the nuts set back up to 300 Newton meters, let's see what the Parkside can do. And remember, this one is running on a battery with twice the capacity of the Total battery. I haven't used this Parkside tool too much, but it looks like it's starting to develop some kind of fault. Well, at least Little has a good warranty, which unfortunately I had to rely on quite a bit lately. And finally, to determine which tool delivers more power in this particular setup, I use both impact wrenches to tighten the lug nuts for roughly the same amount of time, and then try to break them free with the other tool. The Total Tools impact wrench managed to finish the task in just over 9 seconds. And all the Parkside fans are very happy right now because the Parkside Performance impact wrench finished the task in just under 6 seconds. However, let me be clear, the difference isn't really in the tools themselves, the difference comes down to the batteries. Parkside really covered themselves by recommending an 8 amp hour battery for their impact wrench. On top of that, the 8 amp hour Parkside Performance battery uses 21700 cells, whereas the Total Tools 4 amp hour battery uses 18650 cells. And unfortunately, I couldn't see any branding on the cells because there might be one, but in order to check it, I would have had to completely destroy the battery. In any case, these cells feel like they're better quality than the cheap AliExpress ones, but I'm not entirely sure they're better than the Parkside cells. When it comes to the impact wrenches, there are some small but important differences. For example, the rotors may have similar outside diameters, but the Total Tools rotor is at least 2mm longer. And there's an even bigger difference in the status, with the Total Tools one being at least 3mm longer. But by far the biggest difference is in the impact mechanism. Aside from size, the hammer and anvil assembly on the Parkside don't seem to mate together as well as they do on the Total Tools. To me, all of this suggests that if the Total Tools impact wrench were used with the same type of Parkside battery, it should perform much better and possibly deliver more consistent performance overall. Finally, while both tools don't exactly excel at heat management in their control boards, as there's only plastic there and no exposed metal heatsink, the Total Tools does have some metal components where the Parkside uses plastic, which should help with durability. Now, the story behind this set is that a friend of mine picked it up brand new for around €150. That was part of a special introductory offer since Total Tools seem to be entering the European market right now. And because of that, I fully expect that you may come across a deal like this in the near future. And if you do, I can wholeheartedly recommend this set, whether it's for you or as a gift for someone who's into this kind of thing. But I also want to know what you think. Would you go for this Total Tools set if you saw it for around €150, or would you rather stick with Parkside? And as always, let me know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.